I get that you don't make this decision unless you're desperate. And so I can only imagine what you felt the first time you had to do this. And then you're busting your butt and you're working to pay it back. And then, you need it again and you're busting your butt. And at some point you're on this like hamster wheel and the wheel falls off, like you can't get ahead. There's no judgment at all in my voice, but you're going to be in a huge disaster if we don't clean this up. So if there's any way, the payday loan has got to end. Like we've got to stop that first before we even pay anybody else.
Okay, I know you've been cooking a lot for your family lately. I feel like whenever I text you, you're like, "Oh, I'm just in the kitchen doing something." What is the worst thing that you've ever cooked?
I mean, it's a race every day. Sometimes things turn out, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Last night, though, it was a hit. I made this pasta with chicken and the kids wanted seconds, all of them. So that was good. I don't know what the worst thing.
Listen, did you just call it pasta?
I don't know why I didn't say pasta. I don't know why. I was being fancy because they liked it. So I felt like maybe it was fancier. I don't know. I don't know that I've cooked something that is terrible. I think I've just cooked it terribly.
Oh, I see. I
You know what I
see. Yeah.
mean? It could be anything. I don't know. What about you?
Oh, there is a dish that my children will not let me live down. And now that it's like fully fall, they're reminding me of it again. This happened years ago. I cook and I like to try different recipes. Like I'm always searching for something new. And I'm like, listen, I've got this vegetable in my fridge. I'm going to find something that I can make with this vegetable. As it was a few years ago, I had a butternut squash
Hmm.
in my refrigerator. My family loves soup. We love a good soup. I decide to make butternut squash soup. Well, you would have thought I was trying to poison them. Nobody liked it, and I cannot live down the soup. Every fall, they're like, do not make the butternut squash soup. Even if something doesn't taste great, they're like, remember that soup? At least it's not that bad.
What is it? Like you roast it, then you mash it with cream and stir it over the stove? Like, how did you wreck it?
I don't know. I guess they don't love butternut squash in the first place. But then the soup, is like a little sweet. And I guess they don't like sweet soup. I'm sure there was like an apple and some carrots maybe or something in
Side
there.
of
Maybe
radish.
that's how I know you won't eat it. Anyway, I also, though, it's funny that my kids do this because we're talking like I made this soup like 5 years ago.
Right.
My mom made me a soup when I was probably like a young teenager. She made some Hawaiian dish. She made a Hawaiian chicken dish. I feel like I can still taste in my mouth, and it was foul, foul. So I guess I can't really give my kids heck for remembering the butternut squash because maybe none of us like sweet things in our soups.
Yeah, it could be that. It could be that. Though that would have been back in the days where you had to finish everything on your plate. Did you have to finish it or did she let you off the hook?
We always did have to finish everything. You're
Oh
very right. And I
no.
think that she even tasted it at one point because we were like making faces at the table and we're like, this is really bad. And I believe she might have had a taste and was like, cool. Got up, scrape, scrape, scrape. Okay, Chester is new to the program and he applied for a sponsorship to join us in the Get the Hell Out of Debt course online. He says, first of all, thank you for your program. Although I'm only working through phase 1 right now, it's been a huge blessing to me. I will get there, he says. My question is, I've fallen victim to payday lenders. I
Ooh.
am battling with multiple payday loans to the point it has destroyed my bank account and made it very difficult, if not impossible, to get things back on track. Are you familiar with payday loans, and could you give me and others that might be in similar circumstances some direction or perspective? Thank you again for all of your hard work and being willing to share with the world.
Chester,
Mm, mm.
giving you a big hug first and foremost. I do like that Chester used the word victim to payday loans because they really are predatory.
Yeah.
And I do believe they turn you into a financial victim. That's not a word I like to throw around, but I totally understand why you feel that way. So, payday loans, if you're not familiar with payday loans, they're basically a very quick way to get money. You don't need a credit check. As long as you have a bank account and a source of income, like some kind of job, they will lend against your next paycheck. So if you have, let's say, a $300 paycheck coming up, they will lend you $255 against it. They'll take $45 for a fee. And then when your next paycheck gets deposited, they pay themselves back. The problem with these loans is they have really high interest rates. Like the average interest rate in North America for a payday loan is 391%.
No.
Yeah, they are extremely, extremely expensive. I know your next question is, well, how are they allowed to operate?
Yeah, that seems like robbery. That seems
It
like
is.
that should be illegal. That is
It is. Yeah.
outrageous.
When you're signing up for a payday loan, they're not telling you, oh, this is going to cost you 391%. They calculate everything based on a fixed fee. So let's say you borrow $300 and the payday lender is going to charge a fee for every $100 borrowed. So usually it's around 15 to 20 bucks. So you're thinking, oh, that's 15 to 20%. That's the same as a credit card, for example, right?
Mm.
It's not, because for a $300 loan, if the fee is $15 per $100, you'd owe $45 in interest. But when you convert that rate to what's called an APR, your annual percentage rate, a $15 fee on a $100 loan over 2 weeks might seem small, but it equals 390% over the year. So there is a cap on the amount of interest a lender can charge, and every state is different. And across Canada, it's about the same, but there's certain provincial little details that make things a little bit slippery. But these guys aren't charging an interest rate. They're charging a fee. So if, for example, in Canada, they cap the interest rate charge, like the most amount of interest you can charge is 62%. They're not charging 62%. They're charging a $15 fee, but it is very, very predatory. And so what happens for people who get stuck in this payday loan situation is it becomes a cycle. So the next paycheck comes in and they need to borrow again because they don't quite have enough to make it work. So then they borrow again. And then it basically eventually, like what Chester's saying is, he's now with multiple companies and it's chewed up his bank account to the point where as soon as a paycheck gets deposited, it's going to the payday lenders.
Mhm.
Can't get ahead of it. It's almost impossible. And so what I would tell you is that if you're ever in a situation where you're contemplating using a payday lender, you are better off to take a cash advance on your credit card than to use a
Wow.
payday lender.
I was gonna say that's really bad. If that is your advice,
It's not
that's
my advice. It's even the government's advice. If you go on the government website, they will tell you that there are other options other than payday lending. And that's one of their suggestions too. It's not just mine. It's everybody. Anybody who knows how to calculate interest will do it. And here's the problem is I'm being really careful here because I'm recognizing my privilege, but when you drive through certain parts of town, there are more payday loan companies than when you drive through other parts of town. There are some parts of town where there are no payday lenders, which is why some people have no idea. It's why you're like, what? I don't know, because there's no payday lenders by where you live in cute suburbia with your cute kids, with your cute husband, in your cute neighborhood where everybody is friends and takes care of each other, right?
Mhm.
You go over in our city to the other side of town, directly across from where you are, and there's one on every corner. And so it's tricky because while, on one hand, they're allowed to operate because there is a need, on the other hand, those companies know what they're doing and who they're targeting. And it gets really, really gross. It's really gross. So, Chester, how you get out of this is going to be the most backwards advice that people are going to be like, I can't believe the get the hell out of debt girl said this. And if you're listening to this out of context, or this is your first podcast of ours that you're listening to, you're going to be so confused. So we actually do have a system in the book, Get the Hell Out of Debt, and in the online program, getthehelloutofdebt.com. Phase 1, which he is in, is where you learn all of the basics and the financial fundamentals. That's how cash flow works. It talks about your psychology and how you work with money. And once you've graduated phase 1, which doesn't take very long, it's about 6 hours worth of work, you go on to phase 2, which is paying off debt. And then there's 4 or 5 different methods you can choose from, and you're going to pick the one that's best for you and customize it and, all the things and pay off all of your consumer debt, which typically takes 6 months to 18 months, sometimes 24 months, depending on the severity of your debt, how serious you are about it, and your income and all kinds of things. And then after that, you're in phase 3, which is the wealth building phase, which you're in for the rest of your life, and you rapidly build wealth. Well, he's in phase 1 right now, trying to move to phase 2, but he's got this payday loan situation, which probably means he has other debts, because we don't usually hit those payday loan centers until we've exhausted all of their options. So this is where it gets a bit tricky. But if you can do anything, Chester, anything, we need to pay all them off as soon as possible and as fast as possible. You have to sell everything.
Mm.
Do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more? More
Or
of this,
what? What do I want more of?
more of this. Come
Oh.
hang out in the online course, Forget the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there. You have to sell everything.
Mm.
Everything. You get to keep the roof on your head and a set of clothing, 2 pairs of underwear.
Right now, nothing else is priority. Nothing.
Well, you're going to be homeless pretty
Oof.
quick if not. I mean this with a total sense of compassion. There's no judgment at all, because I get that, oh, it's going to make me emotional. I get that you don't make this decision unless you're desperate. And so I can only imagine what you felt the first time you had to do this. And then, you're busting your butt and you're working to pay it back. And then, you need it again and you're busting your butt. And at some point you're on this like hamster wheel and the wheel falls off, like you can't get ahead. And so there's no judgment at all in my voice, but you are going to be in a huge disaster if we don't clean this up. So if there's any way, if your credit is okay, if you can get a credit card and take a cash advance and pay this off and then work at taking care of that cash advance, that'll be the next emergency you have, right? If you can sell everything you've got and just do what you can, if you can work overtime or whatever, but the payday loan has got to end. Like, we've got to stop that first before we even pay anybody else, because at that interest rate, you're not going to get ahead. You're going to drown.
Mhm.
And gosh, like, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. These companies, they know you're not going to read the fine print. They know that you're going to hear, listen, it's only going to cost you $45. And when you need that $255 for diapers or groceries or whatever, that feels really urgent. And so you're not going to think about the $45. And it's not until you're negative in your bank account and every paycheck gets deposited, gets sucked away, that you realize how deep you're in. It's like the financial mob. It's the financial equivalent of the Hawaiian soup your mom made. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But it's priority 1, Chester, for you to get out of this. And so now that you're in the program, I want you to reach out in our social community and just give us numbers, give us whatever, so we can strategize with you and help, because you're not going to be able to do this alone. You're going to need a bunch of people to rally around you, even just for emotional support. But this is something that you can crawl out of. People have before. It's difficult, but they have. And we're going to try and do as little damage to everything else that we can, right? Sometimes you're not paying other debts because you got to pay this one. So then the credit gets affected and whatever, but it's still better than losing everything to these
Mhm.
companies.
Those commercials are so predatory too, right? I just see the commercials on TV, and I suppose what happens is they just need us to walk through the door. And then once we've taken that sort of, I would almost say, shameful step inside their doors, they know they've got us. And then we're signing our lives away. Like, what information are we giving them when we go for one of these loans?
Your bank account, usually some identification. They usually don't pull credit. They're usually just double checking that you've got cash flow coming in and out, because they know their target demo. They know their demo doesn't have access to credit or they wouldn't be in there. And so here's the tricky part. I try and put myself in the shoes of a payday loan cashier. I want to help that person that comes in as best I can so that they can get their groceries, or they can feed their children, or they can put gas in their car to get to work. This is why they're still allowed, because they're at least a solution. But the problem is they're a very, very expensive solution. And I wish there was a way, like I used to joke all the time when people would say, if you had to start all over again, what would you do to make money fast? And I was like, oh, I'd be a payday lender. Like if I had no morals, it is insane. And you're not insane for walking in there because you have a need. And that's why they're still allowed to operate, because the government knows there's no other option sometimes for people. And this offers a very quick band-aid, but
Mm.
it's a horrible solution. It's like your bone is sticking out of your body and you're wrapping gauze around it. It's only a temporary solution. You got to get that bone reset. It's tricky. Here's the options to consider before getting a payday loan. These are from the government that allows the payday loan companies to operate. If you're facing a financial emergency, you may consider asking for more time to pay your bills, cashing in vacation days, asking for a pay advance from your employer, getting a loan from family or friends, getting a loan or line of credit from your financial institution. Again, this is where I would always step in and be like, no, we got a budgeting problem. We got to, but sometimes it's worse than that. Getting a cash advance on a credit card, using overdraft protection on your checking account, or asking your lenders for payment deferrals or a mortgage deferral or a payment holiday on your credit card. And where you live, there's a maximum limit. So the most that they can charge on $100 for a payday loan, which is a 14-day cycle, is $15. So you're thinking, okay, there's a limit, but that's 390% interest.
Mm.
And imagine doing that over and over and over again. Your
Mhm.
savings account has 4% interest is what that's paying. Like you're just not getting ahead. Let's talk about Louisiana. In Louisiana, they have a maximum loan amount of $350. So that's all you can do. You can borrow up to $350. The maximum interest rate, the maximum APR that they're allowed to charge is 697%. So you see how you'd start out with $350, but when you're paying 697% on $350, the next pay cycle, you're going to be back in there again and back in there again and back in there again.
Okay, so if this website is suggesting that we go ask for deferrals, what are the chances that we're going to be approved for that? Like if we go ask for the first time that we just need a deferral on any payment that we might have to make every month, so a mortgage,
Mhm.
whatever it might be, are they going to give us that? Do they
Yeah.
have to give us that?
No,
Is there discretion? How does that work?
they don't have to. Most mortgages do have that built in as an option.
Okay.
You got to read your fine print on your mortgages, which most people don't do. But most people, when you sign your mortgage documents, they have prepayment privileges, meaning you can increase your payment by a certain amount. You can pay a lump sum every year. You can do all kinds of things that'll go directly towards principal, for example. You can also take a break on a payment sometimes. You can skip a payment. You can change the payment frequency. There's all kinds of things you can do. However, what you have to realize is that payment gets capitalized back into the loan and it goes on the end of the loan. So it doesn't stay in your existing payment cycle, but you're paying interest on interest on interest on interest. But it's
Mhm.
still better
Mhm.
than 400 to 700% interest.
Right.
And especially if it's only for a short amount of time, like if there's something Chester can do to increase his income
Mhm.
or get moving, it'll get easier. The problem is, here's what's happening right now for Chester or anybody that's in this situation on an emotional level. They're flipping exhausted. It's a lot. First of all, it's extremely stressful. Second of all, it's like you run out of hours in a day that you can work. So you have to almost get this quick burst of energy for 3 weeks where you go, come hell or high water, I'm figuring a way out of this. And when we talk quick and dirty energy, which we talk about in the course, we're like, this is like emergency state level quick and dirty energy,
Mhm.
because your next stop, if you can't get out of the payday loan situation, is bankruptcy.
Mhm.
So the best thing to do is whatever you can do to get out of this. And then we deal with that emergency, because all you're doing is you're just creating another emergency. It's just less of an emergency. So we have to do whatever we can to get out of this. Then you tackle whatever solution you did to come out of that. Then you tackle whatever solution you did to come out of that. And we slowly start to work our way out. But all the while, Chester, we have to be increasing our income. So we have to be looking for ways to add more value to the company, to get promoted, to maybe you switch jobs and go work for a different company that pays more, something. But you've got to be doing that. And on top of that, you've got to be watching your budget. You've got to be managing your cash flow. It means for a season, you might be eating Costco hot dogs every day. I know it's not the healthiest solution, but at this point in time, you're not at the grocery store picking out organic produce right now. You
Yeah.
can again in a short amount of time, like a few months, but let's deal with this emergency right now and treat it like it actually is, which is a serious financial crisis and serious emergency. And then you're going to keep doing that. You're going to keep working extra hard for a short amount of time, keep working extra smart. You're going to sell everything. You're going to flip furniture. You're going to see a table on the side of the road. You're going to put it in your truck. And you're going to take it home, sand it, flip it for a couple $100 on Facebook Marketplace. Anything you can do to start to hammer this debt down and get free and clear of it. You're going to vow that you're never going to walk into one of those places again, no matter
Mhm.
what. But then once it's all paid off, we can't stop there. We have to keep up that energy. Now we're going to do another burst for 3 or 4 weeks of just accumulating as much cash as possible so that we're building up a bit of a buffer and a float. So you're quick and dirty plus a buffer and a float. And then at that point, we're going to enter phase two.
Mhm.
But until we get ahead of it, we're always going to feel like this hamster on a wheel, like we're chasing something that we can never really catch.
I have a new appreciation right now after hearing Chester's story for my quick and dirty. Like I suddenly am in love with it so much more than I was before because I feel this pain and I don't want to be ever in that situation. So I can't wait till Chester gets to the point where he's got his quick and dirty together so that this is never something that he has to deal with again.
And for everybody that's in this situation, we know you didn't want to be in it either.
Yeah.
We know nobody woke up at the age of 18 and said, you know what I want? I want a financial life where I'm going to be using payday lenders all the time. Nobody wanted this. So a series of things had to happen and a series of really rough orders and a series of really bad luck in some cases. And sometimes it's a systemic thing, but nobody intended to be there. Chester didn't intend to be there. So, Chester, you didn't do anything wrong. You did the best you could. And you're right, you're a victim to these circumstances. But now is the time where you decide that you're out of it. I can already hear it in your letter. The fact that you wrote in and you were like, hey, what about this? Tells me that you're done. You're done with
Mhm.
this cycle. You want something better for your life. And that's going to be really important. And I think, Chester, the thing that you're going to need is a really clear vision. Like, I want you to imagine yourself in whatever it is, the apartment of your dreams, the home of your dreams, with a really great friend circle, and you're going on a trip every year to Mexico or whatever, like whatever it is for you that ultimately you want. I need you to put that at the forefront of your mind. I need you to put a post-it note on your dashboard that describes that life in detail for yourself. I need you to make a mini vision board by screenshotting photos on the internet and make that your background on your phone. I need you to get really clear about what you're working towards so that you're putting what's important ahead of what is urgent. Because
Mhm.
otherwise, what's urgent is going to keep coming at you like a little siren, and we're only ever going to be reacting to things. And we got to get in a position, Chester, where you're proactive and you're making decisions that are in your best interest. And I promise you, you're only a few weeks away from it. It's going to be a hard few weeks, but you're going to have to do whatever you can to get out of it.
I have to say that I'm so proud right now of this community too, because Chester was granted a sponsorship into this program. That means that if you are also new here and you paid $99, which is a one-time fee to come and join us, your payment sponsored Chester into this program. And what an amazing feeling that's going to make me cry.
Well, now I'm going too. You always make me. I know that really is the type of community, but that's because of you. That's because you're a leader in this community and that's how you treat people. And so we all want to take care of each other in here. And that's what's so great about the community in general. When one person even does something little, they'll be like, you guys, I didn't for the first time in 15 years go buy a coffee before work. And I took that money and I transferred over to my quick and dirty. And everybody celebrates and goes nuts for that person because we all know how hard it is to make change in a world where you are constantly bombarded with the opportunity to get into more debt. So it is cool. I'm glad he was sponsored. I'm glad somebody recently was able to scrape together their $99, which it often isn't easy for people, so that part of their fee could sponsor Chester. And Chester, one of the things with sponsorship, I know a lot of people who receive a sponsorship then go, you know what, I'll turn around and pay it back later. No, you're not in debt to us.
Right.
If you choose to when you're in phase 3, great, we love that. But we don't want you to think of it that you owe us or that you'll pay us later, because that's still debt. You know, you're not in debt to me ever. We want you to receive that as a gift. And also thanks to all the phase 3 people who do turn around and sponsor people in. That's pretty cool too. But you're in the right place, Chester. We got you. We'll watch for you. We're sending you so much love and hope, and let us know how it's going. Post in the group, let us know so we can take good care of you and make sure that you get out of this. And then we can't wait to have you on the podcast. Carrie will cry and snot her face off, but we can't wait to see you on the podcast in about a year.
Also, Chester, if you live around here, I want to make you soup. And I promise it won't be butternut squash.
No. Say no, Chester. Say no.